Hey guys, so my wife and I were just marathoning all four of the Star Trek The Next Generation movies, and it occurred to me that I've never actually reviewed them on this channel, which up until now has been a damn shame because Picard was always my favorite. So I mean to correct that today. I'm going to do my ranking of best to worst Next Generation movies. I'm going best to worst because I find that the negative opinions where I go on a rant about something tend to be more entertaining, so we'll see how this plays out.
Make it so, number one.
And this is hardly a hot take, but Star Trek First Contact. This was hands down the best, just objectively best Star Trek The Next Generation movie. It was directed by Jonathan Frakes, and he managed to make it cinematic, properly representing all the characters, particularly Picard and Data. Data on his quest to become more human, and Picard kind of coming full circle with his, history with the Borg as Locutus. I really liked the look of the Enterprise E, I believe it was. I'm not that much of a nerd, but I do like the sleek design of the whole thing. I think that there is a lot of humorous material on behalf of Cochrane. I like that it's a second time travel movie, but unlike Star Trek 4, the stakes in this are a lot higher because basically all the crew members face non-existence in the end. I mean, as it stands, even when they were going through the warp after the Borg, they pretty much watched all of Earth like transform into Borg. Again, it was a lot more cinematic without sacrificing like the sort of cerebral Star Trek vibe, and I enjoyed the hell out of this one. Like I said, not really a hot take. All right, number 2, and this might not be as popular an opinion, but Star Trek Insurrection. Now, when I first watched this movie, I thought that it was rather boring. I kind of felt like it was like an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation that they just milked the shit out of to fill like an almost 2-hour time slot. And I sort of stand by that. It does feel like a Star Trek episode. I'm not bored by it anymore. And as a fan of the show, I have to say that of the 4 TNG movies, this one is like the most like the show, just objectively. And I get why critics wouldn't have necessarily been a fan of that. Kind of harkens me back to Serenity. The first time I watched that, one of my buddies showed it to me, but he didn't show me Firefly. And he was like, oh, it's such a good thing. And like, this is like such a great movie. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, wait, why the hell are they speaking Japanese or whatever? What's going on here? And he's like, oh, that's because of this. There's a show that comes before it. And I'm like, why the hell didn't you show me that first? I don't think that Ebert and Roper or Siskel and Ebert, whoever was around at that time period, were really like hardcore Star Trek fans. I don't think that they were going home and catching every episode. They were very, movie centric. And that's fine. Like it was really made for the fans, once again, by Jonathan Frakes. And I have to say, it took balls on his part to actually kind of bring it back a little bit, because Star Trek First Contact was so big and epic and bombastic that, to kind of go to this, it did feel like kind of, turning it down a notch. And I think that people were expecting the next big epic thing, and what they got was essentially like a solid cinematic episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Me personally, I don't have a problem with that. I thought that the plot was pretty tight. I like the fact that Picard is put in a situation where, because he's very by the book, unlike Kirk was, so he really, he's put in a situation where he has to defy the orders of like a senior officer, but knowing full well that what he is doing is completely out of code with what Starfleet is all about. Very, very interesting thing, and his decision to basically disobey and to fight back. It's a really good character arc for him. F. Murray Abraham was an awesome villain, and he's awesome in everything that he's in. I highly recommend Amadeus if any of you haven't seen that. Really sick movie. So I actually liked that one, and I think that it's the closest to the actual television series as far as the movies go. All right, in third place is Star Trek Generations. Now, I loved this movie when I was younger, and I still enjoy watching it. The problem is they spend so much time with the Next Generation characters that when they do bring Kirk back into the fold, it's like, it's not even the final act. It's like the final, just before the curtain, final 10-ish minutes of the movie, and there just seemed to be such a wasted opportunity. I'm not going to complain about Picard and Kirk working together being kind of gimmicky. It is kind of gimmicky, but gimmicky can work. I mean, just see Spider-Man No Way Home. Gimmicky can definitely work. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And I feel that in this movie, they didn't do it right. Again, everything leading up to the ending was fine. Picard kind of going through like the loss of a family member and really kind of realizing he may very well be the last Picard. You know, it was a really heavy kind of thing that he was dealing with. And then you have this maniac played brilliantly by Malcolm McDowell, who's basically wiping out solar systems, trying to steer this temporal storm called the Nexus by exploding stars and just killing millions of people. There's nothing really wrong with the story. And the fact that when Picard gets to the Nexus and he encounters Kirk, that's great. But here's the thing, and here's the real missed opportunity here, okay? Picard and Kirk are apples and oranges, man, okay? Kirk is like the old school adventurer, man's man, beats the hell out of people, has sex with all sorts of alien women, you know? He's like the old world man's man, okay? And Picard is very by the book. He has like a sense of decorum and a respect for history, and he plays very much within the rules, except for in Insurrection. That's why that was such an interesting twist. But, you know, think about that. Kirk and Picard might not even really like each other. They might annoy the shit out of each other. They would argue. They would have disagreements about things. And I think that that could have been a really cool dynamic, seeing them be themselves at one another and dealing with one another and then learning to work together. I would have taken an extra 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes to kind of have something like that, because they basically just throw Kirk in at the end and it's just like, you go there and I'll go there. Okay, insert generic way to kill Captain Kirk that's kind of, I don't want to say unceremonious, but just sort of like, okay, the fucking thing collapsed and all right, I guess maybe. It just felt like a wasted opportunity, and everything up until that point had been going so well. I'm not saying that it's a bad movie, but it does have some very like glaring issues that it's hard to sort of look beyond when you see it, so it's okay. Number 4, Star Trek Nemesis. I did not like this movie at all. I think that after Star Trek Insurrection, they were sort of like, all right, enough of this TV show crap. Star Trek First Contact did really well, so we need to make this big. We need to make this an action movie and stuff like that. And it was bigger, and it was an action movie, but it did not feel like Star Trek. Where First Contact maintained that sort of cerebral kind of vibe, this totally threw it out the window. I mean, there were parts of it that felt like, Jesus, am I watching like a Riddick movie or something like that? What's going on here? Now look, guys, I'm a big fan of Tom Hardy. I think he's great. He's played so many iconic characters, and he's played them in movies that tend to be a lot bigger, where he gets to really go for it. And that's great. That's his style. Did not like him as the clone of Captain Picard. Did not like him at all. He was very talked like this and sort of said his sentences like I'm an evil Shakespearean. And I get, like, if you're trying to do an impression of somebody, trying to do an impression of Patrick Stewart, okay. But he didn't have any, like, highs or lows. He was just there the whole time. And it's like, it's kind of boring. And what a cool idea that there's this clone of Captain Picard that has been tortured and just never shown any love or compassion, and now he's a murdering psychopath. But he has Captain Picard's savvy, you know? I mean, what a force to be reckoned with. Honestly, what I would have done, I would have had Patrick Stewart play both parts. I mean, how cool would that have been? That would have been truthfully epic. You really could have seen Picard looking into a mirror. I mean, all the shit about the Remans was kind of gimmicky. I also really didn't like the fact, and it's not about how disturbing the scene got, but like the fact that Counselor Troy basically gets like assaulted telepathically. And it's not even that. Like again, they were going something for a little bigger, a little bit more dark. I respect that. But Picard's reaction after the fact is freaking ridiculous. She's like, Captain, I don't, after this was traumatizing. This was a violation. I don't think that I can do this anymore. And Captain Picard's basically like, I know you got telepathically sexually assaulted by my evil clone, but that's no reason to be a baby. Suck it up. What the fuck? What's wrong with you? My God, Picard was such a dick in this movie. And then, like, the whole ships colliding. You have this massive monster behemoth ship that still has like 70% shield capacity. You get the friggin' Enterprise, which is down to like 14. And it's like, what are we going to do? Oh, we're just going to run the Enterprise headlong into the friggin' thing. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. What the hell? Like, the Enterprise would have literally just hit it and just exploded like a water balloon. I mean, I don't know. It was just really stupid. And what they did, killing Data, I'm not against them killing legacy characters, but you kind of need to earn that. And it's like, it just didn't feel earned in this movie. It could have. Again, could have taken the exact same concept and directed it totally differently, and it would have really worked. But they didn't, and it didn't. And that's my opinion on the Star Trek The Next Generation movies. Guys, if you liked this video, please feel free to like and subscribe if you like, every now and again. I throw a bunch of shit until something sticks, okay? If that sounds like something you want to watch, then do it. If not, it's okay. Thank you for watching anyway. I appreciate it. And that's all she wrote.